best album from every decade, 1900 to 2022.
I did try to go all the way back to the Big Bang, but even the internet is a bit iffy on things that happened before 1900. Also, albums weren't really mainstream until the 1950s. So between 1900 and 1940, I used singles instead of albums, with the exception, the great and magical exception, being 1930, a year with an incredible full-length album that you have to see to believe in this video. If you know of any great full-length albums pre-1950, please leave those in the comments, as I am on a journey to hear every song ever. So let's jump into the list.
1900s, Gustav Mahler's Symphony No. 5, a majestic piece of music to clear your head. It's over 100 years old, but yet still with us today through wires and magic of the electronics. 1910s, Clarinet Marmalade, original Dixieland jam band, jazz band. Nick LaRocca, the original Dixieland jazz band cornet player and composer, claimed that he personally invented jazz. This piece of music makes me feel like I'm at the country fair, and it's the best 1910s album. 1920s, Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground by Blind Willie Johnson. If the country fair bop of the 1910s was too upbeat for you, this is the opposite end of the spectrum, with a dark and haunting dialogue that will have you questioning your life. 1930s, Sinful Songs by Lead Belly, the earliest album to make the list. This album feels like a precursor to rock and roll with some powerful, angry blues tunes. And for a highlight, check out Poor Howard. 1940s, Rock a While by Gory Carter. I made a video about the first songs in each genre, and this is the holy grail of rock and roll. There's a lot of other contenders in that category as well, but I believe that Gory Carter started it all with this rocker. 1950s, Johnny Cash with his hot and blue guitar. I just finished the 10,000 studio albums by Johnny Cash, and his debut album isn't country. It's a blues and gospel masterpiece through and through. Check out the Rock Island Line, which I believe is the world's first punk rock song. I think I made a video about that as well. Now we are into what some would call the modern era with the 1960s. A quick one by The Who. It was either this one or Tommy, and that's like picking between your two children. Sorry, Tommy, but your older brother is better. The entire album rocks, but if you've got 10 minutes to check out the title track, I suggest you start there. And if you've got 13, check out So Sad About Us in addition. 1970s best album. Ooh, this is where things start to get really difficult to choose. Never Mind the Bollocks, The Pistols. It's a screaming bloody mess, a watershed moment in the genre and music. But the genre is still not dead today in 2022 and beyond. 1980s. This is when I was born. I was born in the fantastic year of 1985. I got to do that every time now. 1980s best album. Rattle and Hum by U2. I usually don't like a combination of studio and live material on one album, but this is one big, bombastic, absolutely perfect record. Some critics accuse the band of trying to insert themselves into the legacy of other artists and rock and roll here that they covered, but I think the album is a beautiful tribute to the best parts of rock and roll's legend. Now we are into the 1990s. What everyone knows is the best decade of music, right? No, we got to get out of that. Every decade's the best decade, okay? The 90s, just another decade. However, Nimrod by Green Day. They say there's no greater joy than music that you enjoyed as an 11-year-old, and that goes a long way to people's bias about picking their favorite decade. My mother and I fell in love with Good Riddance as I put the compact disc into my boombox. Boy, was I surprised as this album introduced me to the world of punk rock. Also, Nimrod is the sturdiest compact disc ever made. My original pressing of the album is covered in scratches and yet plays just as good as the day that I got it. 2000s. The double alts, the triple alts, whatever you want to call them. American Idiot by Green Day. I wanted to give another band the spotlight here. Why should Green Day get 2 albums on the list? Well, American Idiot took everything I learned from Nimrod and all the punk rock I absorbed in all those 7 years and elevated it to hyperbolic levels. There's a lot of competition in this decade, but I did what I had to do. If you haven't heard this album, what's wrong with you? You're not an idiot, I guess. I gotta work on my emphasis on certain words in videos. But, you know what I'm trying to say? In this instance, not being an idiot is a bad thing. The 2010s. And this is an interesting pick. This one makes me feel a little bit cool. In a War Zone by the Transplants. I know I'm kind of focusing on punk rock, with the Johnny Cash and all. Flip my ring finger up to the screen here. If I am indeed on camera, I don't think I am. My least known, most punk rock pick of the night. I give the Transplants credit for forming their very own genre, which is very rare in the music industry. Rap and rock have been intertwined almost from the beginning, but these guys have not only combined the genres, but played a completely new one from the mixture. One of the greatest bands ever formed. Check out their Haunted Cities, and for In a War Zone, listen to Come Around, which is a solid introduction to the band with some really rollicking guitar work. Now we are into the 2020s. The best album of the 2020s so far. I am recording this audio in August 7th of 2022. And so far, the best 2020s album goes to Welfare Jazz by the V-Boys. I've been informed by YouTube I can't say their name on the YouTube. It's a little bit frustrating. Limited monetization. What a bunch of crock of poop. Probably can't say that on YouTube either. The V-Boys with Welfare Jazz. This one has the better part of a decade to be derailed, but can anyone do it? Despite my encompassing love of punk rock, post-punk is a subgenre that I never really explored until recently. And then these guys came along with Fontaine's DC and Idols, and it really turned my world and my ears upside down. At 36, I'm nearly dead of old age, and I'm not supposed to be discovering new music, but these guys have just really done it for me with their dry sense of humor and their self-deprecation that you can't really tell if it's real or fictional or a combination of both. And yes, this has been my best albums of every single decade. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my other videos, as well as liking, subscribing, bell notifications. All that lovely stuff pumps pennies into my bank account every year. Also consider buying me a coffee or even checking out my Patreon, which I've been working on a lot lately, and give me some suggestions on what you want to see here. And yeah, man, I'm making pennies on YouTube. Unfortunately, they won't give them to me until I have $100 in pennies. Then they mail me a big thing of pennies. I think that's how that works. A Google employee will drop them off at my front door. and they'll probably be stolen. Let's rock and roll. I spend my money on blue guitars. I played my heart out and I loved it. Man, my voice is messed up this early in the morning. I just woke up. Let's rock and roll. Ooh, I should try to do About a Girl. Like Wes Scatlin, he got up at 3 a.m. and he sounded like this. I can't see you. Ooh, it is hard to sing. Free. I can't see you every night. Free. That's hard to sing, man. I've given up. Oh, it hurts to sing early in the morning.